Hello there, you're onto the Power Circuits, a program brought to you by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. This is where you get to know more about key milestones and scorecards of the Nigerian electricity supply industry, NESI. I am Amara Agugesi, and here are the headlines today. TCN and NISO orient substation operators on effective service delivery. At the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, stronger reforms are helping to improve the transmission system and national electricity grid reliability. These reforms come in various ways. This is what the Executive Director, Transmission Service Provider at TCN, Engineer Oluwabuenga Ajiboye, seeks to discuss today in the interview segments of the Power Circuits. In its continuous moves to foster collaboration among operators in the power sector value chain, the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN) has collaborated with the Nigerian Independent System Operator (NISO) to organize another sensitization workshop for transmission substation operators and system operators in the Enugu transmission region. Just in the last episode, we took you through a similar workshop at the corporate headquarters of TCN in Abuja. Here is the rest of the report for the latest workshop held in the Enugu region of TCN.
The workshop is to help improve performance of the staff of TCN and NISO at the Enugu transmission region, especially as the company implements service level agreements with distribution companies and generation companies to ensure that every entity owns up to its responsibility. Speaking at the workshop, the Executive Director, System Operation at NISO, Engineer Nafisat Ali, who represented the MD of NISO, Engineer Abdul Bello Mohammed, noted the significance of the workshop towards having a standard operating procedure for both TCN staff and the staff of newly created NISO to collaborate effectively.
This exercise, the standard operating procedure sensitization program, was organized by the NISO, the Nigerian Independent System Operator, to collaborate to identify gray areas, to close the gaps that have been presented, whether officially or unofficially, particularly as it relates to system operations. As you may be aware, the Transmission Company of Nigeria before now had 2 licenses to operate as the transmission service provider responsible for maintenance, reinforcement, development of the transmission infrastructure. And on the other hand, the TCN had another license permitting it to carry out system operations and market operations functions. However, going forward, this is split or called, I call it an unbundling, and that's a consequence of the Electricity Act 2023 that the President signed into law. It ushered in the unbundling of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, leaving it with the license of transmission service provider to focus only on the transmission infrastructure development and maintenance. And the Electricity Act gave birth to the establishment of the Nigerian Independent System Operator.
Engineer Ali further harped on the need for strict compliance with the extant rules in the Nigerian electricity supply industry.
Between NISO System Operator and the TCN operators, that's Transmission System Operators, to highlight the importance of strict compliance with these procedures and SLA protocols to ensure system stability, accountability, and regulatory alignment. Please gather your feedback on any implementation challenges, procedural ambiguities, or operational gaps that may need to be addressed. We want your feedback. RMs here will serve as a bridge between strategy and execution. So your leadership, the RMs, speaking to them now, at the regional level, will determine how effectively we transition from a post-TCN structure into a high-performing, procedurally grounded and independent system operations culture. Let us use this session to realign, recommit, and reset our operational practices in light of this evolution.
In her remarks, the General Manager, Monitoring and Evaluation at TCN, Engineer Jane Okemini, urged the transmission system operators of TCN to ensure collaborations with the system operators of NISO towards having a harmonious working experience across all transmission substations nationwide.
It is not just for NISO. TSO is also involved. Listen, when you have gaps, let us know. It's not a do or die affair. It's not a one bus stop. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Yes. I want everybody to buy into whatever that is conducive. So we are all working together. So feel free. If you're TSO, feel free. Ask your foolish question. It will lead you to a good answer. Do you understand? Yes. Because nobody is an institution. Yes. Even me that is here standing, talking blah blah blah, I'm not an institution. When you articulate those things, because it is on the job training. When you articulate it, you are the person carrying out those operations. We will note it down.
Officials of TCN and counterparts from NISO also took time to address participants at the workshop.
I will urge us to listen, especially when the presenter would start treating both the SOP and the SAA, the LD, listen very carefully and learn. Just as I told you, I learned a lot in Port Harcourt, even though you claim to know. At any point in time, always make your mind and yourself available for learning. And if we miss it now, it will haunt us for a long time. We have an SOP that has clearly defined the role of the SO and the role of the transmission owner, who is the TSO. So it is very important that we listen.
So for you now to access such a grid, you must make sure that those three things are there. I just learned one of the things you said about the international super grid or connection of international grid, which is Nigeria up to Togo, Ghana, and those places. Don't forget that some of them are operating at a 60 Hz frequency, and we're operating at 50. So there are so many things that you have to do. As an operator, you should know. You must have to harmonize the frequencies. Some are operating at a different voltage. You must have to harmonize those voltages. And that is why when you are doing those synchronization, if you listen carefully to her, you have a time frame for to test run it before it is accepted.
There's a need for us to discuss on how we coexist in the control room. I want to assure you or let you know this, that in this industry, we don't celebrate the success of individual, we celebrate the success of all. That means sustainability of the grid is paramount to all of us. If any of the participants in NESI fail, the entire participant also fails. So it means there must be that collaborative effort between the two or all the parties involved.
The Executive Director, System Operations at NISO, Engineer Nafisat Ali, made a presentation on the standards operating procedure, outlining expectations from operators at TCN. This was followed by a question and answer session by the participants. At the end of the workshop, the facilitators, who are management officials of both TCN and NISO, expressed satisfaction with the exercise.
The interview segment comes up right after this break. Please stay with us.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, transmits bulk electricity from power generating companies, GenCos, distribution load centers of distribution companies, DISCOs, nationwide. At TCN, we transport bulk electricity at very high voltage to DISCOs, who now off-take it and distributes it directly to electricity customers nationwide. TCN does not generate electricity. We transport the quantum of power generated to distribution load centers. TCN does not distribute electricity directly to electricity consumers. Our job stops where that of the DISCOs begin. Electricity in the most efficient and effective manner.
You are on the interview segment of the Power Circuits. Right here we feature officials of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, so you can get to hear firsthand the values and progress TCN is bringing to the Nigerian power sector. Here with us today is the Executive Director, Transmission Service Provider at TCN, Engineer Oluwabenga Ajiboye. He speaks about bulk electricity transmission and how reforms are helping to improve Nigeria's transmission system, national electricity grid reliability. Can you please share the historic landmark of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN?
TCN is just one of the companies unbundled from the old NEPA in 2013. So it's one of the aspects and the major one linking the generation with the distribution. The main purpose and the main function of the Transmission Company of Nigeria is to collect bulk power from the generation company, bring them together and take them to the load center. It serves as the grid transporter of power in Nigeria. And it must deliver those energy efficiently without losses to the affected area.
How does TCN deliver on this significant function of electricity transmission?
Regularly, it has been going on fine, though there are challenges, and the challenges are being worked up every day to be able to get to the place we expect us to be. The challenges are numerous, from the funding to vandalism, which is the major critical we are battling with without planning. In 2024, it was so bad for TCN. We recorded so much vandalism that we spent billions of naira rehabilitating the line. 2025 has been a bit better because in the first quarter it was not much, but it has started picking up again. So, apart from inadequate funding from the budgetary allocation for the past 7 or 8 years, we have relied solely on the IGR, which we earn from the market. But unfortunately, the market is not paying much, because we learned that the consumers are not paying us at when due. So there is fall in the revenue we generate from the market. So all those has pushed TCN to a limit that we are now working unable to achieve the desired goal presently in the market.
Still on electricity transmission, how would you explain these concepts to the man on the street?
And the reality of any developing economy is to take power to people. And the purpose of the TCN is to take the bulk power from the generation to the load center where this energy are required. The purpose is to construct enough transmission line to be able to wheel those power to where they are desired. And the purpose is to submit those power in such a way that the system will be stable and the grid will be reliable and there will be resilience. That might be lacking now because the investment is not so much as desired. We have what we call N-1 redundancy. We have not been able to achieve in every part of the country. In some area we have enough. In certain area we don't have much. So we still have a situation whereby when we lose a particular line, because in those areas we have radial line, the supply will be cut to majority of the people. So we have the plan to invest there, but the funding is restricting us. So our ability to take power continuously is restricted or limited by inadequate infrastructure. Apart from the few ones we have at age, we still need to do expansion, we need to do reinforcement, we need to do maintenance.
With 3 actors in the power sector value chain, how robust is the TCN interface with the other 2 actors to improve revenue issues?
The law is so explicit that everybody has his or her role to play. The GENCO, they have their role. We have the law guiding all of us. The TCN, our role is very specific and stated clearly. The DISCO, your role is here. When you collect energy, you must collect the revenue. But when people don't pay, you disconnect and they still don't pay, what do you do again? The rule is this. We have a section called market operator now in the NISO, the newly created organization in the electricity market, is to be able to bring out this law that, okay, if you cannot collect your revenue, we will not continue to supply you energy. But I said previously, if you do it, if you follow the rule to the letter, there will be problem. Because you might take out some area and the people of the area will see it as you are winshunting their region by knocking them off the grid. We have that major challenge in the market now and it's really affecting us. So the law are there to be invoked, but we don't have the political will to invoke those laws now. The law that set up the NESI and the TCN doesn't even allow us to collect any revenue unless we have what we call eligible customer. I will try to explain that to you in details. The market is hard. We have different functions for each sector. The DISCO are the people that are expected to collect this revenue. So if they don't collect, there is nothing we can do. Our one is to take power to where they will take it. But the law permits us in such a way that if they cannot remit, we should be able to cut their performance guarantee and be able to yank them off the grid. It means you cannot pay me, I need to take you. But due to political influence and exigency, we have not been able to cut those laws. The GENCO are complaining that they cannot get enough money to maintain their plant. The transmission are not getting much revenue as it's supposed to do reinforcement, to do repair, to do maintenance, not to talk of expansion, which is highly required in every sector.
Let's talk about electricity infrastructure vandalism. What do you think are the reasons behind these incidents?
There are 2 types of vandalism. The people that are doing it for pecuniary gain are just small. The people that are doing it for political gain are the biggest. We have realized that some people want to bring down the government to ridicule them in the aspect of electricity supply. Because you will see that clearly in the bombing of the infrastructure. They will not take anything from it. They will only bring them down, damage them, bomb. When you talk for IED, they deploy to bring down those towers. You go there, you will not see anything. They will even lay mine around it so that we will not be able to access it to repair on time. So we have seen instances where we lost some of our staff that went on inspection around Maiduguri. So when it happened like that, you know these people are not the ones that are stealing. Their intention is to cause havoc and bring the government down.
What efforts has the company been making to stem the menace of vandalism of power transmission infrastructure?
We cannot patrol this line every with their meaning. When we are talking of about 17,000 kilometers of line, We have schedule for patrol. We can patrol one, maybe once or twice in a month. You go to another section to patrol. You just hear news that after a week you left that place, it has been vandalized. You rush back there. Sometimes we're able to salvage it due to community engagement. And people have been helping us now. If you notice, we have jingle everywhere. We are doing community consultation. People have been brief, and we have been telling people this asset is for all of us. It's not only TCN. When you bring it down, you know what happened. You don't get electricity. And it affects your own livelihood because so many people rely on cottage industry to survive. And it has been yielding. In Benue recently, they have been catching people for us. They have been catching them, and we have been reporting because we are working also with the Office of National Security Advisor. When it got to the head in March last year, we have to go to all the security agencies, and they responded. So they have been assisting and working with us. Anybody arrested, instead of what happened, they just charge them for theft initially, and they will be bailed. They say it's a bailable offense. But now it's no longer. The vandalism is not theft. In the law, you don't get bail. So they have been assisting us in putting them on trial. And I think that is yielding results. Because in those areas, they have caught people. I think everybody is learning that you can't just go there and vandalize those infrastructure without being punished.
TCN has done a lot of reforms. How are these helping to improve the reliability of the national electricity grid?
So when you talk about all these things, it's yielding results. I'm looking at a situation whereby all the plans and the projection we have made is fully funded, that maybe before the end of this year, even the disturbance will not be there again, and we'll be able to go to bed with our two eyes closed. And Nigerian will start enjoying the benefit of the investment government and the effort all the market participants and the player in the NESI have put in place. It's not only TCN that is working, because all that sector also require reinforcement and to collaborate. Only TCN cannot do it. If I have the power and wield the power to the load center, and the distribution infrastructure is not capable of wielding them, your supply will not get to consumer. So it's in collaboration, it's a value chain, generation, transmission, and distribution. We have to work together, and the regulator must know the gap and be able to tell you there is a gap here, fill it, so that there will not be deficiency in this value chain.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, currently operates and maintains over 17,000 kilometers of high-voltage transmission lines across the country. These lines are often threatened by vandalism and sabotage. With strong collaborations with security operatives, community members, and tougher penalties enshrined in the Electricity Act, TCN is advancing a comprehensive strategy to safeguard Nigeria's electricity transmission backbone. In wrapping up, let's take the top reports again. TCN and NISO orient substation operators on effective service delivery. In the interview segment of the Power Circuit, you heard from the Executive Director, Transmission Service Provider at TCN, Engineer Oluwabenga Ajiboye, that stronger reforms at the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, are helping to improve the transmission system and national electricity grid reliability. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, is glad to have you view editions of the Power Circuit to increase your knowledge about the Nigerian power sector. Due to always support TCN by being vigilant against vandalism of power transmission lines, towers, and substations in your locality. You can please report all suspicious moves to vandalize or sabotage power transmission assets to TCN officials or security operatives and formations near you. Thank you for your time. Your anchor has been Amara Agugesi.